Hello, everyone. This is the podcast with no name. This is today's segment. Oh,
All right.
actually, I was about to say nail the makeup challenge, but we're going to do that later, right? This is all right, a real discussion. And today we are finishing up Who Moved My Cheese. We won't finish it today, but this will be part 5. I just was looking at the videos before we got started, and I realized that we recorded those videos like back before August. So it's been what, like 8 months since we recorded as far as the Who Moved My Cheese. We did do a couple of
Not
other
that long,
ones,
but it's been a while. We are in April of 2024.
and that was before August. So it's been about 8 months.
Been a while.
Yes. Now, just for the cheese, we recorded other things. We just haven't been on the cheese in a while.
Mm.
So I went back. You can go back and watch the first 4, and I went back to try to figure out where we left off. And I think we went off on a tangent, right? So we're
What
just
you
gonna
said.
pick up, I guess, where I got this little. I'm not sure what that means. So I'm gonna say that this is a sign. We're gonna pick up from here. Do you want to
Okay.
do you want to catch
Well,
them up?
before you do that, let's
Mhm.
introduce ourselves.
Oh, that's right. It's important.
Right.
I'm
Once
Ebony.
again, since it's been so long, she's Ebony and I'm Paris. And again, this is a podcast with no name, and this is a segment called All Right, a Real Discussion, where we discuss books that we are reading. And we have been reading Who Moved My Cheese? And this is video number 3, I think.
5.
5. Wow. Okay. Video number 5. Okay, so going to where we left off.
I could just edit the first part then. I mean, the intro was flawless.
Yeah.
Mine wasn't. Okay. So you want to give them a summary. So where we're going to pick up is where they started to chisel a large hole in the wall. So do you want to explain the story up until that point?
I want to let you explain it because you've read it so many times. So you have the better thing. And I'm also going to ask people to please be patient with me. I don't feel well. So I'm not as high energy as usual, but I am present. But if Ebony, since you read it so many times, can you kind of explain?
Okay, so there are 4 characters. 2 are mice, 2 are little people. Him and Hall are the little people. The mice are Sniff and Scary. They're in scurry. They're in a maze. They see cheese. The cheese is no longer there one day. So Sniff, who saw it coming, and Scary just take off that same day. Like walked in, whoo, wow, no cheese, took off. Okay. Him and Hall was like, what? What's happening? No cheese. Oh my God. Maybe it's still here. And so they took out they took out a hammer and a chisel, and they was like, it's behind the wall. We know it. So that's where the story,
Mm,
that's where we are in the story.
okay. Can I just make a quick tangent? I realized this as we are talking, and I don't know why I never realized it before. But the 2 little people are him and Hall. And then the mice are Sniff and Scurry. And I'm just realizing the mice, who we would be considered simpler than the 2 little people, right? But they move by instinct or intuition, where the 2 little people who are reason and logic, I guess you say, of like, no, this can't be it, this whatever. So like your gut feeling versus, I guess, you reasoning and trying to go with reason and logic of what could be happening. I just realized that. But now that I realize it, I hope that you guys will realize it too. And let's think more about that as we go on. So they chiseled the wall.
So I mean, there was the part we discussed it in the last video where they were like, so where's Sniff and Scary? He was like, so what? They're mice. Like, they're not smarter than us.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, him really saying, he's like, they're not smarter than us. Like, so it doesn't matter who we are. Meanwhile, they already found the cheese, right? So they have a hammer and a chisel. And the last video we talked a lot about like when things change in life, how human beings are a little sadistic because we are in a present situation, not seeing it as it presently is, right? We're in a present situation and we may see it the way it was, right? Like, oh, I remember he used to treat me like this, or I remember the job used to be like this, and I remember when my car used to work every time I turned it on, and I remember when, this relationship, this friendship used to be like this, and we will hold on to the past of how it was and not really face the reality of how it is now. Or the bigger one that we do is, instead of looking at it in the present moment, we look at the potential of what it could be, what it could be in the future, right? And so a lot of times we don't get up and move with the cheese because we're not really in the present moment thinking like, well, how am I feeling now? We're thinking, oh, well, I felt this way before, I could feel it again. Or eventually I can feel this feeling or feel that way again in the future, right? And I think it makes life harder for us because so many times the writing's on the wall, it's sitting right in front of us, but it's so hard for us to just like take that truth, believe it, accept it, embrace it, and just move on. So how many times in our lives where it's like we're still at places that love or respect is no longer being served, but we're still sitting there thinking it can change, it can go back, it can get better type of thing.
Good point. Good point. Okay. So now, with understanding that and moving into them still chiseling into the wall, tell us what happens next.
Okay, so it says they believed that they could find the cheese if they just work harder. So they came in to the room, they started chiseling the wall. It says they banged on the wall with the hammer until they made a hole in the wall of cheese station C. They peered inside but found no cheese. They were disappointed but believed that they could solve the problem. So they stayed earlier. So they started earlier, stayed later, and worked harder. But after a while, all they had was a large hole in the wall. So again,
Mm,
like this just makes me think about just so many given experiences that we have or environments that we have where it's like it's not working. But we think like if I work harder, if I do this, if I change, if I show up this way, if I add this, then this situation will change. Like
mm,
we keep work believing that if we work harder that the situation will improve. And I do want to go off a little bit about this because I think that this has a lot to do with like the way we think in general, but it has a lot to do with like in our community, right? The African American community. We think like we're not supposed to obtain things without struggle and that nothing comes
mm,
easy, right?
mm,
So we don't believe that anything can be real or anything is ours until we have to struggle to get it or to have it or to keep it, right? So it's like, oh, if it's too easy, then we're like, oh, it's not mine. What's wrong with it? Like, why is this so easy type of thing? We were just so accustomed to like everything has to be struggle or the job got to be struggle job, right? I can't actually have a job that I enjoy and get up every single day and want to go there and love the people that I work with and love what I do. Like that's not a thing. I'm going to pick the job that I struggle in, that I don't necessarily care. The same like thing with relationships. I don't pick the friends that's going to help me grow iron sharpen iron, right? I pick the friends that bring a lot of drama into my life or make it easy and comfortable for me to show up and settle, right? So just in life, I just think like in just living in general, we have come to the idea that struggle is a part of any game. Like you have to struggle to gain. And I think that that keeps us in many different situations way longer than we need to be because we normalize the pain or we normalize the struggle. Like, oh, I'm struggling, so I must be getting closer. And realistically, we can struggle until we move on from here and never obtain any level of success.
I agree with that. I don't have anything to add to it because I completely agree with that. Um, and some people never grow out of that. So there's that as well. So let's continue to the next part to see if they grow out of it.
Oh, so the next one is where the pink mark is. It says Hall was beginning to realize the difference between activity and productivity. So I marked this because I feel like that this in itself is a video in itself because this is kind of like what we're talking about. I say all the time that many of us are going nowhere fast. We go, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. And you go, where are you going? Where are you going, right? You are
Mhm.
busy all day, every day, but you have not put a dent in like your goals or your dreams or what it is you want to accomplish. But you've been busy since the time you woke up to the time you go to bed. It's activity, but it's not productive. Productive, means like you are accomplishing what you set out to accomplish, not just putting out fires all throughout the day. And that's what most of
Mm.
us spend our time doing. We spend our time just, in quadrant, what is it? One, 3, and 4, where we're just always putting everything that's important but not urgent, basically, right? So
Mm.
we spend all of our time with the things that demand our attention right now, but they're not really important. So right now my
Mm.
phone's ringing, but it's not really important. Right now, there's so much going on and I give it my attention, but it's not really important. What's really important is the things that will bring me closer to my goals, dreams, and will produce the longevity and the health and well-being that I want, right? So
Mhm.
whereas I could, sit down and watch a TV show and I feel like that I have relaxed or unwind, the better way to spend my time would be maybe to go out in nature and exercise because it will hit you both short term and long term.
Mm.
Watching a TV show may just be activity for right now and it may be a short term stress reducer, but in the long term it was an opportunity you stole from your future self to do something today that your future self would thank you for.
Mm. That's a good way of saying that. I like that. We'll keep that.
It
Stolen
wasn't mine.
opportunity for your future self.
Mhm. Yes. So what do you think about activity and productivity?
I agree. I think you know, we have like people who are planners, and then we have people who go with the flow. But even with setting a plan, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll go out and actually be productive in achieving that plan. It just means a lot of times that you have a mindset to it. Um, so when you say that, I think a lot of us have plans or make plans all the time, but we don't necessarily stick to those plans, or we're not putting that at the forefront of our minds about those plans of what we want to do and want to achieve. Because life's, and so you get caught up in what everything in the moment. And I think now it's so easy for us to kind of be swayed or distracted. Um, to move into what you're saying that we think is urgent at the moment and not focusing on what's important or what's urgent and important. And so it's so funny you said that too, because I remember being in college. And when you go to college, you have those like, first semester freshman, they always set you up in like that sociology class or something where they're trying to teach you how to study and get acclimated to college. And one of the things they teach you is break things down into what's important, what's urgent, and what's important and urgent. And, scheduling your time and your priorities around there. And so I think many of us hear that, but I don't think we actually like learn to implement it. And so I agree with you. As far as like productivity, I'm just thinking like what you're saying, like how many of us, I guess, like go to work and we assume that we're productive in the day, but that's not really being productive towards our goals, right? That's towards like the company or the businesses. And so if you're spending a third of your day and you assume being productive towards someone else's goals, then it's a good point to start thinking about how much of your day do you spend in actual productivity towards your own goals.
And I think the whole point of this book or the bigger part of this book is like if you just take it back to the beginning, right? Of just of in how a scenario like this could happen, right? And so
Mm,
obviously the mice and the little people do not know a life before the maze. They woke up in the maze,
mm,
right?
mm,
And they never even considered that they were in the maze. And they never even considered what they do day to day. Like they never considered it, right?
mhm,
It is the changing of the cheese that made them consider like, oh wait, who put the cheese there? And we do this every single day. Like it wasn't until that happened that they like, oh, right. How many times in our life, and this is just me thinking about like synchronicities and stuff, how many times do experiences happen that were meant to like wake us up and make us realize like, okay, you
mm,
you gain consciousness or awareness in like a maze, right?
mm,
Do you want to blindly pursue cheese? Or do you want to have a purpose bigger than just blindly pursuing cheese? Because even with Sniff and Scary, they were not blindly pursuing cheese, right? To them, it's just a matter of I'm living and I have to be obedient to what keeps me alive, type of thing, instinct, right?
mm,
It wasn't the cheese, it's my biological need. I'm gonna need to eat. It's no longer here, so I'm gonna go to where it is, right?
mm,
But on the other side, when you think of like him and Hall, that wasn't the case, not even a little bit, right? It was like it's not simplified for them. It's very complex. It's a whole bunch of feelings and emotions tied
mm,
into it. And I
mm,
think the reason why they reacted like that is because they were forced to deal with more than just the cheese moving, right? It wasn't just,
mhm,
oh, the cheese is gone. It's now, wait, the cheese can move? Oh, okay, hold on. So where did it move to? Hold on. So who put the cheese here? Wait. Why did they move it? Like when did they move? Like it's so many questions that it just cracks open their whole world
mm.
because prior to that, they probably never even considered any of those things. They just woke up every day, went to the cheese, and that's just what it was.
I also think going back to how you're saying, going back to the beginning and then incorporating activity versus productivity. Because remember, they were saying that they used to always wake up and they would go through the maze looking for cheese. And that's what they did every day until they found room C. And then when they found room C, every day they wake up and just go back to room C. And so they would go and eat in room C, and Sniff and Scurry would, okay, leave once they got their fill, right? But him and Hall started to spend their days in room C. They started like inviting other friends to room C. They would stay later and later till almost they were spending their nights and days in room C. So kind of saying first, if you kind of, I'm thinking that when you were talking about that, it's kind of like life and how you're in the beginning, you can be constantly in pursuit of a goal and something simple. You're just trying to make a living, right? Until you finally get into a state where you're making a living and you're taken care of. And so now that you're taken care of, are you now like extremely comfortable in that sense? Where now you've lost your productivity you've had all the time in achieving a goal, and now it's just activity because now you're just doing the same things every day to maintain what you have. And like you said, not necessarily noticing that it does not suit or necessarily feeding you or it's dying or whatever. And so it's not gonna be the thing that's gonna be there forever. You're going to have to move on and do more things. And so kind of like what you're saying, it's like, some of the jobs that you get stuck in, especially if you have a job and go, well, I don't like this job. I want to move on to something. People be like, that's a good job. You know, why'd you leave that? I even do that to other people. I'm just like, what? That's a good job. Okay. You know, you do what you do. I mean, if anything, I'd be like, you find the other job before you quit this job, you know. But, like you're saying, a lot of us are conditioned into understanding that. And that, once we get somewhere that's comfortable, and we, of course, too, I think it could also feel like maybe what you were saying before about the struggle, that productivity sometimes can feel like such a struggle, especially like both of us as business owners. You know that struggle every day of managing your business. Um,
Mhm.
and so even in owning your business, you go, man, if I could just get to a point that, here, and then I could just streamline it, and then everything will be smooth. And so that's always your thought process. I just need to get to here, and then everything will be streamlined and it'll be smooth. And go, okay, yeah, you can. And then after you get there, then you go, well, do you just leave your business there? Or do you get back in the race again? Do you get back in the maze again and go, okay, I've secured this part of my business. So now I'm going to expand it. But you give yourself more work. You give yourself trouble. Or do you continue to be comfortable? You provided a need, your business is doing well. Can you just be done there? You probably have a lot of pride in finally being done with that struggle and getting to that point of being comfortable, where the day to day is just managing your usual business as business as usual. Than how you were building your business and struggling through your business before. And of course, you take pride in that. Like, man, I got this business. I'm doing well. I got employees. I got these customers or whatever. And most of us will go, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
But I think you would also think about like maybe how some businesses, and we're seeing a lot of that now, get very comfortable with their business model or the people who patronize their business, and they think they're fine and they're not seeing things evolving. They're not seeing the changing. They're not seeing that their business is dying, and so they don't evolve. You look crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. So it says maybe him said we should just sit here and see what happens. Sooner or later, they have to put the cheese back. The entitlement for me. It's like we don't even know how the cheese got here, but they gotta put it back sooner or later. Okay, Hall wanted to believe that. So each day he went home to rest and returned reluctantly with him to Cheese Station C. But Cheese never reappeared. Okay, how many times do you know something? And because you trust or love somebody else, you listen to their advice and then you stay or you're in a predicament longer than you should be or wanted to be, right? Because as we see, Hall earlier on was like, okay, let's go. Right. It took him maybe like a day or so or two. And he was like, all right, come on, let's go. And it was him that kept scaring him back into like conforming, comfortability, and submitting because him was scared to go out there, right? So it's like, how many times are we around people who mean well? Listen, they love us, they want to protect us, they want to protect themselves too. And so, like you were saying, you may say, oh, I want to leave this job, and they go, that's a good job. Or you may be like, oh, I want to leave this or leave that, and they go, well, why? And in their mind, they're doing it because they're fearful that you could get worse or that you could lose or that you could get hurt, right? But you're like, I can't let the fear of what could be stop me from what could possibly be better, right? So you go out and do it anyway. So I just think like how many times it could be our best friends, it could be our parents, it could be our siblings, it could be our friends, significant others, where they mean the best. Like they're not being vindictive, they're not trying to at least, but like their own fear hold you back from being your greatest or best self.
Also, your job will try to tell you like, no, 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 like we can do more for you. We'll give you an extra $1, something like that.
Okay. So he says, by now the little people were growing weak from hunger and stress. Paul was getting tired of just waiting for their situation to improve. He began to see that the longer they stayed in their cheeseless situation, the worse off they would be. Hall knew that they were losing their edge. Finally, one day, Hall began to laugh at himself. Hall, look at us. We're doing the same thing over and over and wonder why things don't get better. If this wasn't so ridiculous, it would be even funnier. Okay, so I'll take this one. For me, I feel like this about most things because and here's
Yes, you
the
do.
context. Yes, and here's the context because
Mhm.
like in the moment, it feels like the sky is falling. You're like, oh my God, the sky is falling. This is so stressful. What am I gonna do? I don't know how I'm gonna handle it. Right. But right now, look back to your most stressful situation. Just go back in your mind and look back. You like, I was dramatic.
Yeah. You think about you got fired or that breakup at 21 and now you're 30, you're like so stupid.
It's
Mm,
low key embarrassing. It's like,
yeah. Yep. Yeah. Like, oh, I was dumb, huh? Yeah.
you like, oh my goodness, like nobody couldn't tell me that I wasn't about to die. Like nobody,
Mm-hmm.
like it doesn't matter. Listen, the person I love the most to walk up and be like, it's gonna be okay. And that's gonna piss me off. Like then you look back and you like, I am so dramatic. Listen,
Uh-huh.
I made a vow to myself. I'm like, Ebony, in a moment when trouble hits you, like try to keep your peace and try to like stay grounded and centered because you'll lose your footing. You'll allow it to upset you. And then 10 years from now, you'll be like, what were you like? Why? Like, what were you
Mm-hmm.
doing? But it's just hard to do in the moment because, like, really all you have is the present moment. And if it feels like in the present moment, everything is like falling and cascading, you can't really in the present moment when things are bad project yourself into the future where things are good. Like, oh, right now my sky is falling, but I'm gonna come out of the present moment and I'm gonna put myself in the future moment into this part of my life is over.
You know me, my favorite thing, like in some moments, to be like, and God looked down and said, "I hate you, Alfalfa." You know, like, my favorite thing when I'm really inconvenienced, when things are really just now. I'll say like whatever inconvenience. I'm like, God looked down and said, "I hate you, Alfalfa." And when I was little and saw that movie, I was just like, okay, that's silly, but it's always stuck with me. Until you're an adult, you're like, oh, I feel that. But I remember my dad, he heard it from someone else and he passed it on to me. And so I've been trying to be better about it and it helped. And he's always said, like, if you're worried about something and you have a solution, then why are you worried? And if you're worried about something and you do not have a solution, then why are you worried? You know? And they're saying like, we're millennials, we're elder millennials technically, and they're like, the biggest flex that I guess millennials have is we're people of it is what it is. Like, just get to a point of just feel like it is what it is. Like, what can I do? I tried A, B, C, D, G. Like, it is what it is. Now it's gonna be what it is. And if you watch this podcast and anything before, you know that I ascribe to living in the world of delusion. So, me and Abney have had this conversation a lot, and we're older. We've had a lot of life experiences to get to him and to Sniff and Scurry. We're clearly each one or the other, but yeah, that him and haw is real, and it happens more often as young adults, young people, and a lot of that I think is impatience or like you were saying, in that moment, just thinking the sky is falling and you're just thinking like it can't get any worse. You're never going to get out of this. And you forget that like maybe you're like 22 and you're very likely to live to like 76. So you still have like, you're not gonna live in this space for 50 years. you forget, you
It
forget
feel like
sometimes. It does, but it just feels like the point is that I don't want to live in this space right now. Period. I don't care. You can't think about the future at all. You don't care anything about the future. You're just like, it's this moment right now. I can't do it. So I get it, but yeah, eventually, like, I think was you start to laugh at yourself. You go, I can't believe I put myself in this circle of madness of just, you know, just doing the same thing. Like I'm like, what am I doing? And you would hope that you would come to it quickly, but sometimes you can be, I found with him or her, and it just you the problem is you just taking so much pride and you got so comfortable in your situation that you just can't move past it as quickly as you need to.
Yeah.
Mm.
And again, like I don't tend to get to laugh at myself to like years later and I'm reminiscing. I am trying to get to the point where like the most stressful things just I laugh at them. I have put into practice of laughter yoga, and which is that's exactly what laughter yoga is about, because you know like laughter is a biological function. It decreases cortisol and stress. And when you know this whole life is stressful, and it's like if you fall into the chronic stress or chronic distress, it's like it's so many negative like impacts on your mind, body, your experience, your connections with people. So in laughing or picking up the practice of laughing so often, it seems like now for me, things that I would not laugh at before, more in the moment, I'll hit it with a little like, it may not be like a full blown laugh, but it be like,
Yeah,
and I feel like
I'll tell you,
again, that's progress.
it takes a lot of maturity to get there. It takes like for somebody to say something and you look at them, you go, and you smile, and they like, I would be mean. Why are you smiling? You just looking like, okay. You know, or it's like to get to a point in life too, to like no longer be embarrassed. Let me tell you, the other day, to no longer be embarrassed about just the simplest thing. Let me tell you, the other day, I realized I was old Ebony. I fell. And I fell so slow. It was really, really slow. And I was just like, yeah, I'm old. Cause that fall shouldn't have took 3 points of falling. You know, when you think about when you're young and you run it and you trip, you go boom and you hit, and all the adults go ooh, and you get up real quick because you're like, oh, okay. My fall was just like do. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm old. But I wasn't embarrassed. I just looked at people, I just smiled, and I was like, dang. I can do it. And I can do whatever. And I realized like I reached a certain level of maturity too. Like I'm not embarrassed. Um I don't easily get riled up, but also I live in a world of delusional bliss. So you can say something smart to me, and I'm like, yeah. I'll be totally on your side. Like, you right, yeah. You guys are so I'm just like, I live in my world of just just ignorant bliss, and it's wonderful. But that's a choice. Some people get there already, but you also have to make that an active choice. And truthfully, people think that's like foolish or whatever, but it takes a lot of maturity to be like, small stuff, man, small stuff.
It
You
is.
know, we talk about it. You thought your sky was falling before Chicken Little, like no.
No, it ain't no, listen, it could always get worse. So it is true. It's like nothing in life is serious except living. That's the only thing that
Mm,
is serious. Like everything else you can laugh at. I mean, I could upset people, but I even laugh at death because I feel like that's the ultimate joke.
but
Like,
death.
that's the ultimate joke. You birth here. You have no idea where you came from. You
Mhm.
don't have like a crystal stairs you walk your whole life. Like it's challenging and then you die.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like there's some deaths recently, and I was just like, mm, that's especially when you think like some like instances of how people go, you be like, dang, okay.
Right. Right. Nobody can say life is not a comedy. It's a comedy,
Oh,
like definitely. So we should be
all the
laughing
time I
at
be
it
looking up,
way
I'm like,
more.
you funny, you're funny.
We we should be laughing about it way more, but like what people don't realize, and I talk a lot about this to other people, is like we're controlling. We're not faithful people. We don't have like a lot of faith. We
Mhm.
feel comfortable because we think we control a lot of things. And it's not
Mhm.
until something lets us know that we're not in control that we're going, oh. And it's like that's not faithful and we're not in control of anything at all. At all. Okay. So it says, Hard did not like the idea of having to run through the maze again. Nobody does. But because he knew he would get lost and have no idea where he would find any cheese, because life doesn't come with an instruction manual. But he had to laugh at his folly when he saw what the fear was doing to him. Now that's a really hard one. That's what we were talking about, the maturity. Like you have to have both honesty and maturity to be honest with yourself and say what I'm feeling is fear, and mature enough to laugh at yourself once you realize it's fear.
Well, I hope Ebony, this is not a dig at you, that for the things we like to do together, you would laugh more.
Things we like to do together. What you talking
Oh,
about?
like helicopter rides and stuff. I mean, like that.
I did laugh.
No, you did not. You can laugh now. You can laugh now.
Listen, I was if I got on it, I was laughing on the inside.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. There was no laughter on the inside. Mm-mm. You're not gonna tell me that lie. I was there. I witnessed it.
You don't know what my laughter looked like. I was laughing on it.
Ooh, 25, 30 years of witnessing your laughter. And I don't know what it looked like. Okay.
I was laughing on the inside, but on the outside it looked like tears.
You just was laughing so hard. It just,
See,
ooh.
like now, see,
Like I
you
said,
just
I wasn't.
misunderstood. You just misunderstood.
I'm not trying to take a dig at you. I'm not. I'm just saying you absolutely right. And I pray that you develop more in that. You get more laughter in your
You
times
just
of
need to
fear.
understand me better, Pam.
Okay. You're right. I just like, I try. I was like, good boy. The one thing I will say, she'll do it
I did it.
in the face of fear. She'll get it done. It's gonna be a lot of.
It's a
I
lot of
like say
internal laughter, Paris.
it's internal something struggle. I would say I was calling it struggle. If you want to call it laughter, that's absolutely that's totally fine.
Listen, this how y'all know it was internal laughter. Did y'all laugh? At some point, did y'all laugh? So it was internal.
No, I
Laughter
was just
is
like,
contagious. Did y'all laugh at some?
oh, I was like, okay. I just want you to know it's the thing is, it's like
Oh.
we say this all the time. We're never gonna put too much business out there, but like the perception that they have of me and Ebony together, you go, man, this is the bold one. This is the one who's out there doing things. And this is the one who's like kind of chill. It's flipped. It's not what you think. Okay.
Oh, I am fearless, Paris. Do not be putting no stank on my name.
Look, I would agree with you. I'm fearless. I would say you're. I had to think about that. Hold on. I was like, you're persevering. You're persevering.
Lord.
Fearless. I wouldn't say that, but persevering. I tell you that she gonna do it. It's gonna take a minute. It's gonna take a minute. She gonna do it. Are you gonna be frustrated a little bit?
The point is, I did it. I ain't gotta do it your way. I did it my
way. Right. All the pictures gonna look miserable. And you'll love it.
But it's not the point. Mission accomplished. It ain't how I did it. It's that I did it, okay?
Yeah, that's the truth. Ebony has a plethora of accomplishments of things she has achieved or experienced. And if you know her, you be like, yeah, absolutely. But until you've been there, you hear all the things she did. You be like, man, great. You wasn't there. It's great. You wasn't there. But she did it. And she did though. So that's it. So yeah, that's what happened. She overcome that fear. She don't back down. She do it. It take a minute, but she do it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. Ooh.
Lord, that is hilarious. Okay, let's read another paragraph and then we can.
So fun.
I know they like, we don't even know what they're talking about.
I told them.
One day you gotta show the phone. I got it.
Oh man. I was just like, whew. I'm not even gonna put you on the internet like that. I don't need you to become a meme.
Listen, I would have to laugh at myself with that when I still chuckle to this day when I think about that.
I'll never get over that.
That's how I knew I liked myself. I was like, I like myself.
I think everybody else liked you too because that was hilarious. You didn't think it was that funny at that time when we laughed.
Well, I can see y'all was trying so hard to hold back laughter, but he was like, I just can't. This is ridiculous.
I think the instance I'm thinking about, we ain't hold back no laughter. You was talking about the other day. You was upset. You was like, I can't believe y'all laughed at me. I'll give like a really short context, but because I said it before, we decided to take a helicopter ride, and I'm like, Emmy, let's go, like let's do it. She's like, okay, and we're like, okay, cool, and I go up front and I pay for it, and I'm like, let's go, and Emmy, all of a sudden I just have me go, whoo, and I'm like, what's happening? Like we were hyped, we know, we talked about this, we drove here to go do it. We're like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, Abby was just in the corner, Blair witching it, just like, oh, and I'm just like, okay. But anyway, we did it. We drove up. She cried the whole time. We got on the helicopter. We flew around. It was beautiful. She cried the whole time. And you know, they give you the headphones so you can talk to people, and they're just like, hey man, like, are you having a good time? And so, you know, the pilot wanted to check in on Abby because she was really nervous. And she was like, hey, are you having a good time? And Abby was like, yeah. It's like, okay. And she's like, I'm crying, but I just want you to know I'm having a really good time. It's just so,
and they laughed at me, and you could see they all looked at each other and laughed.
Even the pilot laughed because it was just like, it was ridiculous. So they're just crying. You're like, yeah. She's like, I'm crying, but I'm having a really good time. Are you? Are you? I don't know. It don't sound like it.
I will never forget that. I bet I was our most memorable ride ever. She like, the girl cried the whole time. Then I asked her if she having a good time. She said, yeah, but I'm having a really good time.
She probably still talk about that. Like, she probably used it as an example. Like, you can still do it. One girl cried. She was so scared, but she loved it. She told me. you know. Mind you, this is like a 5-minute helicopter ride.
It wasn't even that long.
It wasn't even that long. We flew around the lake. And that was it.
We flew around Horseshoe Bay. You get it right.
Yeah.
Oh,
What? I
Horseshoe
thought it was Lake
Bend. I
Mead.
think it was Bend. Huh?
I thought it was Lake Mead.
That too. We did the long
Yeah.
one when we did all of them.
Yeah, we drove to Horseshoe Bay.
But we went over it too.
Oh, okay.
And we went over the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, okay, so it's Lake Mead and the Hoover Dam because Horseshoe Bay is further in Arizona. We were still in Nevada.
Okay, that was funny.
Like, boy, yeah, we had some time, man. We had some adventures. We go on cool stuff. We do cool stuff, guys.
That's why I know I like myself. Stuff like that.
I like you too. Still did it. Like I said, still did it. I like you too. I was like, oh, okay. And I was just so surprised. Like, mind you, other stuff that we done, I get it. I get that. But I'm like, it's a helicopter. Like,
that's worse. I don't like flying. What? No.
But it's not zip lining where you're open to the elements.
Well, when I went zip lining, listen, the helicopter ride, it took about what, 8 minutes to get me on, like to convince me to get on. You need to ask how long it took the person to convince me to get on that zip line.
I already know. I probably would have been like, take your stuff off, sit to the side.
And I was like this the whole time. You got never opened my eyes.
You ain't even see what the zip line looked like. Oh man. See, and I'm trying to go on the world's longest zip line. I want to do that. That
won't be with me. That'll be with
Yes,
Nikki.
you will. You go.
No, that'll be with Nikki. I can't close my eyes that long, baby.
After a while, you got no choice. You be like, okay, you gotta take a breath and open your eyes. She says that she'll go.
I'll make sure I miss that trip. Okay.
You'll go. She'll be there.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So he asked him, where did we put our running shoes? It took a long time to find them because they had put everything away when they found their cheese at Cheese Station C, thinking that they wouldn't be needing them anymore. So should we stop there on page 43?
Yeah.
I had to do that for next time.
Yeah.
So again, I think this is a good stopping place because it's a good place for us to kind of like talk it out. But like, how many times do we think that we have found what we're seeking before that thing has ever proven to us that it's a match? And so we put it away. We put expectations or the idea that we can move on and transition to something else because we like, no, I already made this commitment. How many times you like, a friend be like, oh, you want to do this thing, and it'd be like 6 months ahead of time, and you like, oh, right now it sounds cool, so let's sign up, let's do it, right? Then it gets close, and you like, but I'm different. Well, I don't want to do that anymore, right? And then you're like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And the person's like, but you said, and we just got to give ourselves the permission that I can always, say something different, change my mind, do something different. Like it shouldn't be like I make this commitment and then I put my jogging shoes away because I'll never need them again. That's not how life is in general. Like change happens all the time. That's not the reality of life. So how do we think like, oh, I found this job and I'm going to be there for the next 50 something years? Like, nope, don't need to think about learning anything else, picking up new talent, skills, ability. Like, I'm going to be with this company the next 50 years. Oh, nope. I just found this house or this apartment and I really love it. I'm going to be here this townhouse for the next like 30, 40 years, right? But again, things change. You go, oh, I found this friend. We really enjoy each other. We're going to be friends until we die. And then things change, and we're not giving ourselves the permission to go, I outgrew this thing. I'm no longer aligned with it. And it's okay for me to walk away and find what I'm aligned with. I don't have to stay and honor commitments that no longer serve me.
Facts. I was just thinking about just different aspects of that in regards to, like I said, we say all the time, both of us own business, but I think like in your business, I would think about how your business has evolved over the years of what it initially started out with what it's become now. And like I'm a creative, crafty person. So my business has been this, and now it's this. And then I'm looking at it's going to evolve a little bit more into this too, and it's even evolving with you and your business. So, yeah, and it was also making me think about, staying in the place for 30 years. But I was thinking of an example. My dad's going to be retiring soon, and he's been at his job for almost 25 years. And so I was really pushing for him to retire very soon. He was going to do a few more years. I'm like, look, you're getting older. His position evolved to something very comfortable, which he figured he could do a few more years. And I go, yeah, but I'm just like, why would you want to if you have the choice to have more freedom? But I talk to him all the time and say, well, you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do now that you have all this freedom. Because a friend of his decided to retire, and then 2 years later, he went back to work because he was bored. He didn't have any hobbies. Didn't have any interests. He didn't really pursue anything. And so he was just kind of like home for a couple of years. And he was like, well, I don't have anything to do. I'll just go back to work. To the job I had before. I made good money. It wasn't a very hard job, and at least I have something to do because I just don't enjoy being at home. And so it's also that things of just transitioning, even into understanding transition in older age when you're going to get out of the maze and you're out of the rat race. It's like, how have you matured yourself to we're pursuing, like, are you reading? Are you pursuing activities? Do you have a hobby? Is there a business you always want to start? I tell my dad all the time, I said, me and Evan do YouTube. Maybe nobody watches. We don't care. But
I don't even share it.
Yeah, not at all. But it could, it's something fun. It's a hobby. It could be something later. And I'm like, why don't you, like, my dad loves movies. I'm like, why don't you just review movies? It's for your own personal enjoyment. And you just put it out there. Maybe someone else will like it or something. And it's great if it evolves to that. And that's what you want to pursue. But I know that you like to do this thing, but, get something that fulfills you a little bit outside of that, so that you're not in just being comfortable. Like, I'm going to be home and I'm going to sit in the house and I'm going to watch TV and I'm going to sit around because that's comfortable. Maybe I'll go for a walk, everything that's comfortable. Have something that you're more productive in. So I agree with that. Even with that, saying putting up your shoes, don't forget the things that you enjoy. How many things have you enjoyed for yourself that you've put away because you've been focusing on making a living for yourself?
Or making others happy, people pleasing, or filling obligations and duties.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just about making a living, it's also about the things that fulfill yourself.
Right.
And you don't need to wait till retirement.
I agree.
Okay. Well, we've had fun with you guys. I think we're going to wrap it up here. For you guys, I remember we just stopped at page 43 in Who Moves My Cheese. So you guys, if you have a book, you can continue on with us in the next video, in the next discussion. But for now, thank you for joining us on a podcast with no name. This is our section, All Right, a Real Discussion. And my name is Paris.
And I'm Ebony.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.